All right, next one, House File 2899, has to do with the Freedom of Information Act. This one should make people mad too.
There we go, 2899. Basically, the law says that if you're trying to get information from a governmental agent at whatever level, you can file in state court or federal court, and the judge will force the organization to provide the information. This bill would allow an administrative law judge to have the same authority and save people or individuals or groups a whole boatload of money to get freedom of information from governmental agencies. That goes from the school board all the way up to the President of the United States. So at the last minute, when this hearing was going to pass this, there was an amendment introduced that would exclude education, and it was passed. And then they discussed the parameters of this amendment, which shocked me that nobody discussed the amendment. So Mary Liz Holberg speaks up and she goes, "Excuse me, but where is it? Why are we excluding education? What makes them so special? And by the way, where are you?" Because there was nobody from education represented there to explain their justification for being exempt from this. So I talked to a gentleman afterwards who had introduced this, expanding it to administrative law judge, and he says that the issue is liability. Education doesn't want to be involved in being liable and have to expose their records if something happens. And he told me a very sad story about a kid who committed suicide several years back, and the father spent 2 years and $25,000 or something trying to get this information. By the time he got it, the statute of limitations had ran out on wrongful death. The bigger issue is this also would include, if this passes, and it did pass out as committee and sent on, if it passes law, you would not be able to get any of your children's, minor children's, personal school records, period, if the school chose not to under this law, because education would be exempt from the law.
There should
be 500,000 people down at the state's capitol demanding this thing go away and never come back again tomorrow. We'll see what happens, but that's what they're passing.
Unbelievable. I can't say it enough. Throw the bums out.
Yes.
Throw the bums out and elect new people like Tim Utes in 50A, Columbia Heights, St. Anthony, Fridley, and Hilltop. You are so lucky to have a candidate like Tim Utes running. We need to do everything we can to get him elected. The next bill I would like to talk about, House File 3086, which is health records for domestic partners.
We'll go over this real quick because I guess we have a few more minutes. Real quickly, because the homosexual movement can't pass these domestic partner equality with marriage legitimately through the normal means, they're going through the back door by expanding it to include anybody who's living together or wants to live together or likes each other, has some kind of relationship, and making them all have the legal status as marriage people. And they went through a bunch of different sections of the state statutes and picked and chose different ones to add domestic partner and redefined domestic partner to include all these other groups of people. So basically, everybody's on equal planes. And it includes, and the biggest problem is going to be if I have a 16-year-old daughter who gets in a car accident and her friend, male, female, or whatever, who's 18 or 20 or 6 or whatever, they have equal access that I do as a parent or I do as a husband or a wife to that individual. And that's not the law. That's never been the intent of law since our founding fathers, and it's not the intent today. And it bothers me that if they want to push their agenda, they need to push it up front, out in the open, and not through the back door, which is what happened. Which is what the process is in this area. And they're expanding they've always used domestic partner to be sexual orientation. Now they've expanded it because they want to get more people on board. Because people living together, sure, I want equal rights. I want to be able to do everything married people do, but I don't want to get married. Well, they get them all on board automatically because they've expanded the definition of domestic partner in this law, in this bill.
It is so deceitful how many of these bills they try to pass through a backdoor route like this.
That's terrible.
It should outrage the general public.
It should.
Mm-hmm. We should be storming the Capitol.
We have to be, or we can all. We're done.
Mm-hmm.
We're done.
Mm-hmm.
1396, I think, is our last. Is that our last one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
House File 1396. This is quite creative.
I love this one. This is my favorite, and this one did pass. This is a cute one.
Yeah.
This basically elevates animals to the stature of human beings in the law. And it does it not intentionally, but it does. What it does is it gives the courts the responsibility of companion animals having the same protection in domestic abuse and restraining orders as people. Now I can promise you, as I work in law enforcement as a volunteer police reserve officer, I can tell you right now, at 3 o'clock in the morning when we're going to a domestic dispute or the cop officers are going, they are not concerned about Mary's pet parrot or Joe's hamster. They're concerned about keeping themselves safe from getting shot and taking care of the adult human beings involved in this process and not somebody's pet. And that's basically what this does. And a girl gave testimony. I understand her testimony, but her testimony had absolutely nothing to do with applying the provisions of this law. If it was applied in the process, it would not have nothing to do with her. She did not fit within the parameters of this, but they used her as testimony. So
they love to pull up the pets and the children and the abused women and yes,
and another
the elderly.
disturbing, all the discussion on everybody's part was all about how men abuse women, and that is not the case. There are women who abuse men, and it frustrated me, and I talked to the gal afterwards. We had a very cordial conversation, is that this is all about how women are victimized. No, men are victimized too. But the bigger thing is that this is elevating animals to equality with people. And if it passes, look at the courts, the police, look at all these organizations within government are going to have to up their ante, up their spending, up their employment to comply with this law. Because everybody's got a pet. And the law already exists. If a judge already wants to, without this law, the judge can already say, stay away from the pets. The judge already has that authority under law. But they want to specifically, and their excuse was, well, judges don't always do that. Well, that's the discretion of a judge. That's why we have judges. They have that discretion. But they want to force the judges to deal with this issue.
And there's so many bills, thousands of bills that have been introduced over there. We didn't get to discuss the paid sick leave. We didn't get to discuss the pornography in hotels. We didn't get to discuss the 5-cent tax on plastic bottles. We didn't, I mean, I can go down a whole list of bills that we didn't even get a chance to address.
Some of the bills that were, like here's one, 3382. So we're up to at least 3382, and I haven't checked the last couple of days where we're at. Who knows where we're at anymore, what number we're up to. But they're being introduced every day. 34, here's 3447.
3,447 bills.
And we got 61 days left of session.
It can't end quick enough.
No, the sooner the better. The sooner the better. And then elect me, then people got to vote for me, get me elected next year. And as many constitutional people out there that are willing to stand up for the Constitution and put a stop to this insanity, because we're losing our liberty all over the place. Forget jobs. We're talking about our ability to live our lives anymore. We're losing it. All over the place. And
we talked about some of the regulation in the bills that when we were going over them earlier. In the state of Minnesota, we pay $2 billion a year, just in the state of Minnesota, for government regulation. Yes. You eliminate some of that government regulation, you'll have more jobs than you know what to do with.
It's capital, yep.
Yes, and of course they're over there trying to raise the taxes, and they're trying to expand the sales tax.
There's so much to talk about. We'll have to get back together real soon because there's so much happening.
We'll be back, and people won't want to miss it. Again, let's hear your website.
TimYutzForHouse.com.
And there are lots of ways they can get involved. There are all kinds of things coming up. There are opportunities to walk in parades. There are opportunities to have coffee with your neighbor.
We take the bus out. We can have call and have a house party. We love doing house parties. Come and ride the bus with us. Go out and help us meet people. And
you got to tell people about that bus.
Well, it's a big green school bus we got last time, and it's well-stolen tuned. The Republican version is what we call it. The police in Columbia Heights call it the Big Green Booger. So it's got a lot of names. People all over this district are starting to really know that we're out there. And so
and you have your jacket.
We have our jacket. This has been the best. This has been the best billboard I think you could come up with. So it gets out there and gets people talking. And we got to do more than talk. We got to get involved and participate and hold our government officials and basically fire them all. If they're not going to do their job, fire them.
Mm-hmm. Our goal: throw the bums out in November. Elect some good representative like Tim Yutz for House. And
people say we got to have term limits. We do. We've had them since the beginning of this country. It's called the voting booth. We just don't enforce it.